I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but, other places.
Well, this is something you don't see every day. Former Trump National Security Advisor John Bolton, who has actually been a part of a number of Republican administrations, admitted on CNN to overthrowing governments, admitted to helping to plan at least one coup d'etat. So I'm going to play for you this insane clip. I'm going to get to the follow-up, the surprising that there was a follow-up at all from Jake Tapper, but there was. I'll play for you what that was, and I'll get to the likely coups that he is talking about here. First, let me play this clip. It is insane. You don't normally see people just admit this on television, but he is an American. He knows he's protected and nothing's going to happen. So here he is on CNN just openly giving up this information.
And it's not an attack on our democracy. It's Donald Trump looking out for Donald Trump. It's a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence.
I don't know that I agree with you. To be fair, with all due respect, one doesn't have to be brilliant to attempt a coup.
I disagree with that. As somebody who has helped plan coup d'etat, not here, but other places, it takes a lot of work. And that's not what he did. It was just stumbling around from one idea to another. Ultimately, he did unleash the rioters at the Capitol. As to that, there's no doubt. But not to overthrow the Constitution, to buy more time to throw the matter back to the states to try and redo the issue. And if you don't believe that, you're going to overreact.
Okay. Earlier I said he admitted it, but admitting it would sort of imply that he was, questioned about this information, and then he gave it up after being questioned. No, he offered it up as an example, trying to make a different argument. Like, it's not even, him admitting this isn't even the main point of his sentence. It's just like an aside to say, actually, you have to be intelligent to overthrow governments, as, me, as someone who has done that, understands. Like, how do you do this? I mean, I know how you do this because he knows he's protected. But even still, it shows you how much he doesn't care, ultimately. Because if you've had any sort of humility at all, any sort of self-awareness about what you have done in your life, the impact of overthrowing a democratically elected government, maybe you wouldn't bring this up on CNN. But he really does not care. He's proud of it. And he knows he's not going to be thrown in jail, ultimately. So where's the fear for him? There's no worry, no fear. Might as well bring this up and brag about it. So I'm going to get to the follow-up, which happened 4 minutes later. I feel like the producer maybe was in Jake Tapper's ear and was like, maybe ask him about the coup d'etats he instituted, or coups d'etat, whatever the actual terminology is. But still, I will get to the potential coups he was involved in. But just one more point, I guess, on the Trump thing, because Trump was the main point of this conversation. On Trump not being intelligent enough to overthrow a government, you could maybe argue that you have to be intelligent to be successful, but he still attempted it. He is still, to this day, attempting it. He is still claiming he won the election. He is calling witnesses. This came out today from Liz Cheney. He's calling witnesses that haven't even been in front of the committee yet, trying to pressure them not to tell people what happened. So, attempted murder is still a crime. Attempting to overthrow a government and stay on as president is still a crime. Now, let me get to the follow-up here, and then I'll get to the coups. But here's the follow-up from Jake Tapper, and it's not too much, but still, John Bolton offers up even more information.
I do want to ask a follow-up. When we were talking about what is capable, what you need to do to be able to plan a coup, and you cited your expertise having planned coups.
I'm not going to get into the specifics, but
successful coups?
Well, I wrote about Venezuela in the book, and it turned out not to be successful. Not that we had all that much to do with it, but I saw what it took for an opposition to try and overturn an illegally elected president, and they failed. The notion that Donald Trump was half as competent as the Venezuelan opposition is laughable. But I think there's another...
I feel like there's other stuff you're not telling me, though.
I'm sure there is.
Of course there is. And that was the extent of the pushback. Nothing else. It ended there. They moved on in the conversation. You have somebody in front of you who just admitted to overthrowing governments, tells you there is more I'm not telling you, and you just leave it at that. All right, let's get to the ones that I guess are obvious. I'm sure there's more, but I'm going to focus on actually two in particular. But I mean, he's one of the chief architects of the Iraq War, so I guess you can count that as one. Venezuela, as he says there, and another one while he was with Trump, Bolivia. So let me start by showing you, in fact, let's really focus here on how the media has reported on some of this stuff, because back New York Times, this is a headline from 2018. Venezuela accuses U.S. of plotting coup against Maduro. This is how the media writes headlines. Instead of saying all evidence points to the U.S. helping to plot the overthrowing of the Venezuelan government, it's Venezuela accuses the U.S. of plotting it. And you're going to see a pattern here with how the New York Times has done this. But so, as John Bolton admitted, this is one of them. And Evo Morales, as we will get to with Bolivia, at the time when it came to Venezuela, he tweeted out, "We condemn Trump's coup conspiracy by holding secret meetings with Venezuelan military traitors to overthrow our brother Nicolas Maduro. The free countries of Latin America will withstand and defeat any further attacks of the empire against the peace and democracy in the region." While it appears the Trump administration, including Bolton, didn't like that, as the U.S. complicit again in an illegal coup, this time in Bolivia. So they overthrew, or I guess helped to overthrow, Maduro. Bolivian leader Evo Morales, this is how the New York Times reported on at the time, steps down. He steps down. A leftist who had served longer than any other current head of state in Latin America, Mr. Morales lost his grip on power. He dropped it. He dropped his grip on power. Someone else picked it up and ran away. Lost his grip on power amid violent protests set off by a disputed election. We'll get to, in case you don't know, what happened in this case, but other news outlets, of course, framing it in a very similar kind of way. ABC News, President Evo Morales resigned amid widespread protests. CBS News, from an infuriated population. New York Times, I just showed you, angry at election fraud, which didn't happen. I'll get to that. Fox News, full-blown dictatorship. Oh, wow. All of it, complete bullshit. U.S. media, mainstream media in particular, absolute garbage. So the reality here from Truth Out, the United States fingerprints are all over the coup. Advisors from the U.S. Southern Command have been stationed on Bolivia's border with Argentina. Ivanka Trump made a surprising visit to an Argentine province near the Bolivian border in September. The pro-U.S. Organization of American States, OAS, cast unfounded doubts on Morales' election victory, and the U.S.'s National Endowment for Democracy provided suspicious grants to Bolivia. Well, turns out, a year later, a new study, this is, to be clear, from 2020, a new study released by a pair of MIT researchers Thursday reveals that, contrary to claims from the U.S.-backed Organization of American States, there was no fraud in Bolivia's October 20th, 2019 elections, an accusation used by the OAS and others as a pretext for supporting the coup in the country that deposed President Evo Morales and replaced him with an unelected right-wing government. Here was a coup, no election fraud, overthrew this government, and luckily there's a happy ending to that story, as that unelected right-wing leader ended up in prison. So this happened, I think it was this year. I believe I covered this. Yeah, earlier this year. So June, this was last month. But it was obvious, she was on trial before this, but the actual, her being put in jail, June 10th. So, former Bolivian president sentenced to 10 years in prison. The trial of Janine Áñez, who took power after Evo Morales was ousted, has led to concerns about politicians' use of the justice system to target opponents. New York Times again. I got to be honest. I didn't even read this part before because I just want to show you that she went to jail. But look how they're framing this. She overthrew the government. And the New York Times saying, well, we're concerned about how much power these politicians are using. What if Trump overthrew the government? Would you be fine with nothing happening to him? He overthrew. What if he was successful? Overthrew the government, not put in jail, nothing happened. Oh my God. The media. When it comes to this issue in particular, foreign policy, New York Times, Washington Post, absolute trash. Now, that isn't to say look, I've quoted New York Times countless times, but you have to be aware of when to actually trust them and when not to trust them. When it comes to foreign policy, they are lockstep with the U.S. government. And John Bolton just admitting this on TV, this shows you why you can't, at the very least, use people like this on TV. Don't put them on as some authoritative voice. These people should be charged. You, as the media representing the people, that is what you're supposed to be doing. You should be looking to ensure that there is some, law and order in place when it comes to powerful people overthrowing governments. But instead, there is, barely a follow-up and they move on in the conversation. Absolutely amazing.